little bit tired, but I've got to get a lot of this work done. I have a stack of 19 cutting boards to get done. Only one of these is going to be done that is not going to be done on screen because the person who's getting it does not want to see it until it shows up on their door. So I get it. I understand. The stage that I'm at right now, I've already rough sanded all of the boards. Some of them have had the second sanding on them. I've got 3 that have had the second sanding on them. So right now we're going to go through and we're going to do the first finishing sanding and just kind of smooth out the rough edges from the drum sanding and just smooth it out a little bit. And then they will get wet to raise the green, and then we'll finish it off with the final sanding. And right now I'm just using my tablet and opening it up so I can be able to check the comments periodically with you guys. And I am going to also turn down my phone volume so I don't get a whole bunch of notifications popping in there. I don't want that. All right, at least I don't want that. That doesn't do good for a video. So right now I'm just gonna pop my quality real quick on my tablet so that plays good. And we got one viewer in here. Appreciate you popping in. Say hello. Let me know who you are. And I'm gonna grab my dust mask and we're gonna get ready to get started. I'm gonna rip through this as quickly as I can because I do want to go to bed at some point. But that's the plan. We're going to go ahead and rip through. Right now I've got 180 grit sandpaper loaded up on the sander. I'm sitting on my downdraft table here, and I think I'm going to move my sander plug-in down here to the downdraft table as well, just for the heck of it. And I'm going to hit the sides of the board, all the edges of the board, because I don't want to round that over too much. So I'll hit all the edges of the boards just like this. All right, a couple quick passes is all it really ever takes on those ends, especially after it's been sanded nicely. Just a couple quick passes on that. These little sanding blocks are great tools to have because they help give you a nice flat surface when you're sanding. So this doesn't really take too long to do this first rough sanding with this and just kind of get it good. And I do have one board that I ended up with a little bit of damage on the corner, so we're going to get rid of that too. You just got to make sure that you're keeping track of what you're doing so you don't over sand. You're taking off so little with this grit of sandpaper, you really kind of can't over sand it. I'm sure you could, but it'd be pretty difficult to get it over sanded. All right, so I'm just cleaning up right around that corner so I don't have to do it with the palm sander, the orbital sander, I should say. But like I said, it's just a couple of quick passes. That's it. You're good. Just a couple quick passes. And that's done. We're good. So, oh, thank you. And welcome, Jax. Appreciate you stopping in. Yeah, actually, I just picked up this downdraft table. I bought a drum sander. That was what I went there to go for. It was on Facebook Marketplace. I went there for the downdraft tables or the drum sander specifically, and while I was there, the guy was like, "Hey, it sounds like you do some smaller work. I got this downdraft table. Would you be interested in that?" And of course, I have to ask, "Hey, how much?" Yeah, I'm kind of interested, depending on the price. And since I was buying some other stuff and spending quite a bit amount of money with him, he sold me the downdraft table for $20. It was a great score. I couldn't possibly have asked for anything better with that. Yeah, super good bargain. But I spent about $500 with him total that day, so I think he was just happy that I was buying quite a bit of stuff from him. So, but Yep, I'm going to dive right into this. I will check the comments periodically here. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm going to dive into this, get this sanded, and this won't take too long to do each one of these boards because this is already rough sanded. We're just going to take it to 180 grit, flip it over, get the other side 180 grit, cycle through that kind of like a little assembly line. And I got a couple of other boards that I've already wet down once. After these get 180 grit, I will wet them and get the grain to rise up. That's what we wet the boards for, so that you can get all the grain to stand back up. And then when you do your final sanding, it knocks it back down. And that way, when you wash the cutting board for the first time, it won't feel fuzzy. That's the goal that we're shooting for. So let me throw my mask on here. You'll probably still be able to hear me half decent through that. I'm going to turn on the downdraft table and we'll get it going. Just taking out all the marks from the drum sander. Only really got to go over this a couple of times. It'll be buttery smooth. Just a couple of quick passes. I think this board right here is going to be one of my favorite boards. It's, I got some really nice wood on the edges here. I will definitely be looking to work with that wood again. I'm not applying too much pressure here. Just a little bit more than what the sander weighs. Just enough to provide a little bit of force. All right, so as I was saying, kill that for a second, grab some water here. I'm going to wet these as I'm doing them. Clear a spot over here so that I can work efficiently. Should have done this before I started streaming, but I want to be able to stack these up on an area that I don't care about it getting wet. And I have a plastic table over here for that. I just got to move some paper out of the way that I had laid down for when I was doing the glue up. Move this paper, and I'm going to throw down this mat instead, because if this mat gets wet, it will dry and it will be fine. So I'm just throwing that down so that it's keeps the cutting boards off of the table. That's all. And so, as I was saying, yeah, I used Chechen wood right here. We got a couple of viewers. Welcome, everybody. Chechen on the sides right here. This wood is so freaking pretty. I love this wood. I will definitely be looking to work with that species of wood again. It is a freaking wonderfully beautiful wood. So once I wet it, you'll actually be able to see it too. Just checking my chat feed here again real quick. All right, looks like we're still good. Good. Okay, so when I wet this, you'll see the grain pop and really come alive, and you'll get a really good look at what the board will look like. And it is just prettiness all the way around. All right, so very pretty, very, very pretty. Look at how beautiful that Chechen is. Just absolutely stunning. Love that wood. I'll definitely be looking to work with that again. So I've got this wet. and I'll let it sit and start to dry up. I'll come back and I'll sand it with 240 because I don't have any 220 paper. Normally I would go to 220. I thought I had some 220, but I don't. So 220 or 240 will be just fine. It'll just provide for a smoother finish, that's all. So we can set this aside and crank this next board out. Again, we'll just start with the edges here. Like I said, you don't really have to make a huge go of it. And I'm not supporting this on anything and giving myself extra space because I don't want to nick or dent the wood in any kind of way. I don't care if sawdust gets in the water. That's not going to hurt me. I just got some 150 grit sandpaper on this little sanding block. Again, you don't have to go with any type of huge amount of pressure. You can be pretty gentle. Give a couple of good swipes. Your router bit should have done a bunch of the work to keep this clean and tidy and neat. Unless you have a little area that you did a little filler work, which I did right here. So I want to get that cleaned up nice. By little filler work, I just mean that there's a little gap in there. I just filled it with some sawdust and food safe glue, same glue that you would use for the for gluing the board together. It won't hurt anything, and it's the bottom of the board. Like I said, we're just cleaning up saw marks, and we're cleaning up anything that is undesirable. That's all we're shooting for on this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it is smooth, and now we're ready for the sanding. This is going to look really nice. This board has some curly maple, some sapele, black walnut, like I said, we're just going through giving this a really quick sanding. Depending on how much time I have, I'll get to the 240 grit sandpaper today as well. The trick is to just kind of stay moving and stay consistent. Don't sit in one spot because you'll wear a little dent in there pretty quick. Just try to stay moving at the same speed, the same amount of pressure over the entire piece. I could see some streaks that I had in here from the sander. I'm just trying to clean up those streaks a little bit. That's from the drum sander. We'll get that on the next sanding though. It should come right out. Wet this board down and set it. That other board, top of it's almost dry already. There's that curly maple popping, and that sapele pops real nice. This is the bottom of the board again. And right now, immediately, I can feel the fuzziness of the board. The grain stands up that fast. Oh, look at where you got a little burn mark there. So do a little wet sanding on that. Yeah, we'll take that out for sure. Little corner here had some sandpaper burn. Or some router bit burn, more likely. Not sandpaper. Definitely router bit. We'll get that cleaned up. And this will be the top of the board. The pretty part that everybody will see. Just like that. On to the next. Get started right here on the sides. Like I said, just staying consistent and following a path. It's okay to kind of round your corners like you just saw me do there. Just keeping track of what you did, that's the big thing. Make full strokes. You get a spot with a little bit of a burn. That's what I'm working on here, just kind of sanding that out a little bit. These blocks, mentioned a couple times in this stream already, these blocks are awesome because they help keep your surface flat. This is a rubber block, so it gives a little bit of give. Got a little bit of a burn mark in there. Nothing bad. On one of these boards I got some heavy sanding I'm going to have to do on the edge because it got torn away by the router. Which can happen. It's okay when it does. You just don't scrap the whole board. Just sell it as it is and just smooth it out as best you can. Move on. That's all you can do. But definitely don't scrap all your work on it, right? Get this rounded edge here. On this sanding block, I have 150 grit sandpaper on it. That will be the finished grit that I run around the edge. All right, check my comments here real quick. I'm not sure where Chechen is native to. If I had to guess, I would say probably Africa, but that is a strict guess. I need to do some research and find out. Because it really is a pretty wood. The other benefit of doing the water on this is if you have any little imperfections, it's going to show it. And it's a heck of a lot easier to deal with water than it is to deal with oil. These boards will go into food grade mineral oil as their final finish. and then butcher block conditioner right after the oil soaks in. Just getting these down to a finished texture takes a little bit of work, but like I said, I can still see a couple of streaks here and there from the drum sander, so I'm hitting this one a little bit more. But I'm just trying to pay close attention to which way I'm going and how many times I've done it, and not do one side a little bit more than the rest. I am going to use this to try to clean up that burn mark on the top. Got that burn mark out of the way. We'll get this one out of the way. Just trying to keep it flat so we don't round it too much. Get this guy too. There we go. Got that burn out of there. And get the bottom side. It doesn't take too much to get it out, even with a higher grit sandpaper, but the higher grit sandpaper, you really got to be careful because it can produce heat pretty quick. So you don't want to end up burning it with your higher grit sandpaper either. This is kind of weird for me doing live streams in the morning. This is technically my after work, so it's kind of my evening. This is like I'm doing this late at night right now. It's only 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock tops in the morning right now. I don't have anything to tell me what time it is right at the second. It's easily accessible. When I do these boards, I try not to be too focused on the bottom. I still try to make it nice, but I try not to spend a ton of time on it, because it's going to be the side of the board that nobody looks at. Right? So if it's going to be the side of the board that nobody looks at, you know, who cares? Awesome. Thanks for looking that up, Jax. That's awesome. Now I know. Caribbean rosewood. That's pretty interesting. I gotta just lock that into my memory bank. There it is, bottom of the board. So my other favorite wood is this sapele. Man, the grain always looks so good on sapele. It just glows. And sapele is really nice to work with too. It's a hardwood from South America. It's a species of mahogany. Man, oh man, does it just makes beautiful colors and projects. So when you wet the board, you don't need it to be soaking wet. You just need it to be wet, damp. All right, so the sapele is this wood here that's sapele, but it has a real pretty glow to it. It'll be better once there's oil on it. It'll be way better once there's oil on it. Right now I'm just throwing a couple of shims down so I can separate the other board that's already here from this board so we can get some airflow and let that dry as I move the next one over. Start off on the edges again. Now, I could do this with the orbital sander, but I'm still trying to keep it as nice and flat as possible. I'll go back and I'll hit any burned areas if I have to with the orbital sander. Like there's a little burn spot in this corner right here. I'll hit that with it. But if you do too much with the orbital sander, you can really take away the definition of your edge. We don't want that. I had a couple of burn spots on the corners here, so the orbital sander will come out on this. So I'm going to get it just lightly rough sanded. Get all my little saw marks and router bit marks. Get all those off of there. That way I can just focus on hitting what I need to hit with the orbital sander. And the other thing I was going to say about using the orbital sander, when you do it on such a thin surface like that, it ends up wasting your sandpaper. It'll move your sandpaper all over the place, and you'll end up going through sheets of it way faster than you would if you just use one of these sanding blocks. This little sanding block is going to last me probably through all 19 of these boards. I would probably go through 5 sheets on the orbital sander if I did this on every board and just use the orbital sander on the edges here. So try not to do it that way. Just trying to go through and get these quick knockdowns. And if I can see an imperfection, I kind of take a mental note of it and I try to come back to it and gently work an imperfection out. Paying much, much closer attention to the top of the board. Some people hit it with a spray bottle of water. Totally acceptable, totally fine. I just use a rag because it's easier for me. I feel like it's faster. And when you're doing 10 plus boards, anything you can do to get a little extra speed out of it is a welcome thing. I'll definitely be checking the time before I go into the second application of sanding here. Like I said, this is just the first finish sanding. Definitely going to hit some of these corners and work out some of these burn marks. This little burn mark right here, we'll get rid of that. Another one in this corner. The little details like that, just noticing it and cleaning it up and taking care of it, that's the stuff that makes a big difference and separates you from the other guys, you know? Your customers probably wouldn't even notice it, but if you notice it, clean it up. Lots of people can make a cutting board. The people are buying from you. They're buying from you because they really like what they see. But lots of people can make boards. Do something that sets you apart. If it's little details like that where you take the time and the care to just see it and make the necessary adjustments, it will show in your work, and you'll have a lot more clientele that comes back to see you more often. Just do quality work as much as you can. You know, hit your goals, and just, like I said, do quality work. Don't mess around with just trying to knock it out as fast as possible. Also try to make it look as good as possible. Even if it takes you an extra 5 minutes to get something done, do it. It's worth it in the end. 5 minutes can make a big change to some people. Like I said, I'm just putting this on shims, separate it. So we've already gotten 4 boards done. Check the comments and the time. Yeah, it's 9:08, so I'm not going to get through the 240 grit sandpaper today, but we will get through all this 180 and this first sanding, because I've actually got to go to bed here at as soon as possible type of thing, right? Like I said, this is the middle of the night for me right now. I'm a night shift worker. That is my day job, is night shift work. I do not like the night shift, but it is what it is. I do like my job. I like the people that I work with. So, good with the bad, I suppose. Probably could have gone with 100 grit on this first one, but that's okay. I got some extra saw marks here. So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? I got some extra saw mark in here. You can kind of see it a little bit there. Right? That'll show up with the oil, right? So before I even wet this down, I already know I'm going to hit it. Just get rid of it. Nobody wants to see the saw marks. I guarantee you nobody wants to see the saw marks on their boards. And it took me an extra 30 seconds to clean that up, get it out of the way, and make it look pretty. Nobody will know anything different now. Except for me. I'll know that it was there and that I fixed it. Got a little burning on the end right here. I'll hit that with the orbital sander as well. Clean that up. Yeah, like I said, just do quality. Lots of people can build stuff. Not everybody takes the time to make sure they're doing high quality. quality is what sets you apart. You won't have to fight for customers. I'm just kind of taking mental notes from where I got to go around this with the orbital sander. I got a couple quick spots. Know I got to hit it here. Still doing my best to keep it flat. You see I'm making really long, exaggerated passes. I don't need to go all the way across it, but I don't want it to be noticeable. I don't want there to be a little dip in it. There's one burn mark gone. Didn't really have too much burning there except for right here in this corner. And one more burn spot right up here. I got a little nick in this corner right here on the top. Right? Little nick right there. We're going to get that out of there by sanding and rounding that corner over a little bit more. Big exaggerated movement so it doesn't look as bad. But we don't want that open crack in it. No, I can't feel it. That's what we want. Yep, like I said, just take your time. Look for stuff, see the details, and see the little imperfections, and then correct them. Yeah, my plan is to try to be able to get into bed by about 10 a.m. It's probably about 45 minutes from now. If you don't get everything on the first shot, don't worry about it. Because you're still going to do one more sanding after this. You don't need to get it all on the first shot. I like to help myself keep track of the board and knowing top and bottom. So I use two different edges. I use a round over on the top and a chamfer on the bottom. I write on the board and say which side I want to be the top so that I make sure that I'm using the right side as the top. And again, like I said, when I get the board wet, I'm looking for any other little imperfections that I got to go at. And if I find one, I'll make a mark with pencil on it so I know where to go back. And if you're going to sand a cutting board or anything else that you want to have a good finish on, don't sand it on something hard, right? Like I got this little rubber mat here. It's perfect. These little rubber mats are perfect for sanding a nice finished piece board because it's not going to put a little nick or a mar or a dent or any kind of imperfection that you already know you're not going to like. It won't do it. The rubber is way too soft compared to the wood. So a nice little rubber mat, or even the mat that I pulled out earlier and showed you. The little non-slip mats are great. They help you not slip, for one, and two, they're soft. They won't dig into your wood. I've made the mistake of sanding on top of something that I shouldn't have before, and it was plastic. I didn't think it was going to do anything, but it had enough of a point on it that it dug in. That curly maple. Look at that curly maple right there. Curly maple is always a really pretty accent. At least in my opinion it is. Set that down, grab another board. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 3 more. Yep. 14 more boards to go. Not that bad. Check these comments here. Yeah, you sleep really hard after a good night shift. At least I do. I sleep like a tank. It's not too easy for anybody to wake me up. So sleeping is definitely a bonus when it comes to night shift. As long as you have the right type of quiet in your house, it is. For me, I'm lucky. My kids are all in school right now, but even when they're not, they were really good about staying pretty quiet and not trying to disturb me. So I'm thankful for that. They were all really good about that. I'm gonna sleep real good tonight, I know that, because I'm already a little bit tired. Probably gonna pass out in about 3 minutes after my head hits the pillow. I normally don't do a whole lot of woodworking like this when I'm tired. Like I said in the description and earlier, I am really trying to catch up on these boards. I should have had these done about a month ago. I don't really have a time limit, but I don't like to keep my customers waiting so long. I didn't really have a due date given to me by them, per se, but my own mental due date was there. I got some saw marks on the end grain that I'm not going to try to take off with this guy. Take it off with this guy. downdraft table does appear to be helping me quite a bit with the dust. Built with a furnace motor, a furnace blower motor. So it does kick out quite a bit of air underneath it, which is blowing on my foot right now. I usually run pretty warm, so a nice cool breeze up my foot and around my leg doesn't feel too bad. That drum sander is a very welcome addition to this this wood shop. This sanding would take me a lot longer without that. I ran it yesterday and I was very pleased with it. I try to make all of my boards a pretty decent size, usually at least 12 inches wide by 15 to 16 inches minimum long, up to 17 or 18 inches long. And I do make them longer when needed or requested. Now, being colorblind sometimes makes it difficult to do a project, but I'm not texture blind, so I can see little imperfections pretty easily. I just can't do it if it's a very light color. Which is why the water also really helps. Like I said, the water will help an imperfection stand out and let me know if that oil is going to make it stand out, because I could see like a little possibility of some snipe here and here, and if I can't see it when the water's on there, then it's pretty safe to say that it'll be okay. Yep, I think that's okay. I don't think we'll have any issues with that. I'm not like scrubbing on the board or anything, I'm just running the rag around it. Nice damp rag. It's like I said, just a damp rag is more than sufficient to get the grain to stand up. Just double checking, looking for anything that might not make me happy. Alright, let's pull out one of these boards. This one's got to go up to 180. This one got wiped down earlier. Alright, this is a custom board, or a special ordered board. They wanted it to be extra thick, so I will oblige and I will get it extra thick for them. I'm just getting the straight and flat edges first. Working all these saw marks out. I knew when I wet this board down already that I had a bunch of saw marks, so I'm just taking a few seconds, get all those saw marks out of this. Because this board's only going to get one more sanding. I will wet it one more time and it'll get one final sanding. Try to get all these saw marks for the most part out. Got to get them out of that end grain. This is going to be a really pretty board too. I mean, realistically, they're all really pretty boards, but you always get one or two that are your quote-unquote favorite. This one's really heavy. Now we can get onto that round over next. Then we can get the top and bottom. This was already sanded really pretty good prior to, so I'm really not going to have to hit this too hard. A couple passes and this should be good. I got a couple new tools on my shopping list. I want to get a new jointer and a new table saw. The jointer I have now really doesn't work for crap. And the table saw is not meeting my likes or my needs anymore. And we do have some purple heart in here right next to the maple, the curly maple, a couple good thick strips. So I could see a little imperfection there. Just want to make sure I couldn't get underneath it with my thumbnail or anything. One more fast pass. I'll wet her down. This will be the last time this one gets wet down. This one gets 240 after this. That'll be the last sanding, so this is the last time it's going to get wet. Pretty. That's going to shine up nice. All those saw marks are gone. Oh yeah. Definitely tell I like it. This board is going to a fellow wood carver. He sent me a carving and I'm sending him a board. I've got a couple of boards that are going out to fellow wood carvers on trade out of this batch. Kind of like that. I think it's neat. All right, on to this next little guy here. Try to eliminate some of my flipping and just get all of it around over the chamfer and the edge. Let's get it all done at once. So I got to remember which directions I flip it. So I can make sure I go back and get everything that I'm supposed to get. So the nice part about wood cutting boards is when they get a little bit marred up, they got some marks in them and you've run your knife over them 19 million times, a little sanding takes care of it. And this is that corner. This is the board that I knew I had some extra work to do on. So I'm definitely going to hit that with the orbital sander here. Clean this up. Because that's a lot of sanding. I'll show the damage that happened with with my router. Because I made a rookie mistake. An oversight. It's been a while since I gotten into cutting boards and just made a mistake. And that is, when you're running your router, start on your end grain. Do not finish on it. Start on it, because when you finish on it, you get chip out, tear out. Pretty nasty gouge in that. Now I got to sand that out of there, because I'm not scrapping the board. But it is going to make a messy edge. Just a good thing that it's on the bottom. Alright, well that's gone. Get some of these marks out of it. I'll show you the little chip out repair when we're done sanding it. A little burn here. I'll get rid of that little burn too. It's always pretty easy to tell if you're still going over something rough. You'll feel your sander kind of pull you around. Won't be a smooth transaction. I can see a little bit of snipe in there. I'm just trying to take that out. Got the burnout. I don't feel the snipe, but I can see it. I was talking earlier about how I can see the difference. I just can't see the difference in color. I can see it in texture. I think that'll be okay. We'll show that sanding repair here in a second. Before and after water. So I used the drum sander to get a bunch of the planer snipe out, because these are cutoff cutting boards, right? So that I was limited in the length that I had. Normally I just make the board a little bit longer, cut the snipe off and be done. But since I want to keep it as long as possible, I got to work it. I got to get rid of the snipe by other means. I can still see it kind of in there, but again, I don't feel it. So it doesn't show up with the water. Cool. So here's where I had to make that little repair. Right, that was the big gouge that was out of there. So now when you look down it, it's not going to look right. All right, the corner's not going to line up. It's going to be fatter into a skinnier side. So I'd rather only have one corner that doesn't line up than 2 or 3 or whatever. But since it's on the bottom of the board, it'll barely be noticed. And we'll look at that, how that repair shines when a little water's on it. Because that'll accentuate it. And this was a board that I did that was lots of sapele. I did that on purpose. I wanted a very heavy sapele board, just because I think sapele is very, very pretty wood. So I went with one board that was just tons of sapele. So this is the corner that was originally damaged. Right? That doesn't look as bad now. You can definitely see that there's some repair in there, but it doesn't look too bad. Set her down and get on to the next one. Check some comments, see what you guys are saying here. No new comments. Close my chat, open it back up, make sure it's refreshed and it's good. Looks to be. I have one board over here that has tested my patience to the very fiber of my being. I mean, it was really causing me some headache. I had to put it down and walk away from it for a while. And I'm actually calling it finished now. I had so many issues with it. I do like how it turned out. But man, oh man, was I ever getting angry and getting upset and just not having a good go of it. I literally put that board down for months. It was a board for a friend for her wedding and / engagement. She's always been really nice to me, and she gave my wife and I nice gifts for engagement and wedding. So I wanted to give her something back that was nice. And actually, today is my wedding anniversary with my wife. And I have to work tonight. So I got to figure something out, something cool to do with her for a weekend. Which is another reason why I'm trying to get these boards done, so that I can enjoy my weekend with my wife and not spend it working the entire time. I don't really consider making cutting boards working. It doesn't provide me a living, and I do it because I like it and it's fun. So I don't really consider it working, but I'm definitely not spending time with her while I'm doing cutting boards. So get this little burnout. I have a good sharp blade, but I do get a lot of blade marks. I think it's partly to do with it's just not a very high quality saw. The newer Craftsman that Craftsman doesn't make parts for anymore. And it's a contractor saw. It's not like a real cabinet maker, cabinet hybrid saw. I think wherever I'm at, come about 10 o'clock, I'm just going to have to call it, get my butt into bed. Getting through a good majority of it today, but think I'm going to end up having to not even finish the 180 grit sanding today. I still got a stack of 8 boards over there, plus 2 others I got to sand. Get this one ready to get wet. Let's get it wet. I don't see the snipe in there. Yeah, okay, it'll look good. Tomorrow when I do the wedding, probably take the pictures and get them posted so I can get the sale post together and let people start picking their boards, and then I can get ready to start doing their laser engraving before they get their board. That'll give them a little time to pick and choose while I'm finishing the boards. Normally when I wet them, I take the picture, I get the measurements, and I post them with what size it is and all the other good stuff. Normally how I do it. Everybody's got their own way. No right or wrong. Check this time here. Got about 10 more minutes. Appreciate it, Jax. And thank you. Thank you for the happy anniversary wish, and I'm glad that you're getting some good tips on the video. If you got any questions about anything, I'll try to answer them. And we'll end on this this pretty little board here that has already been wet down once, so we'll get this 180 sanding on it. This is the board that really tested my patience, so I'll start off on these edges here. This board really tested my patience, and it caused me some headaches, made me walk away from it quite a few times. So I don't know if you noticed what I just did there on these corners. You gotta not cause yourself issues by increasing your chance of doing a tear out, because you can tear out with your sanding block too. And the corners were a little bit fuzzy. I didn't like it, so instead of rounding it down that way, go with the grain and wrap around it so you can get off any little fuzzies there. And this time I'll go down and around because I'm going to follow the grain around that way just to clean up that corner a little bit. Not a ton of pressure again. Keep your pressure very light. That way you're just taking off a little bit. I know you can't really see the board too much right now and why it was such a pain in the butt. Well, I've never done a board like this before, and I was stepping out of my element, giving it a new shot, trying something new. I knew how to do it. I just kept making mistakes. It was my first time doing it, so I understood that there was going to be mistakes made, but it didn't make it any easier on me. Didn't make it any better. And I'll point out a couple of the mistakes in it. There certainly was a whole lot of glue and sawdust filling on this. So on this one, there's no snipe because I cut it all off because there was big enough mistakes that the snipe ended up being outside of where I needed to cut. So I'm just going to grab end piece, take my mask down. So this is one of the ends that I cut off. Look at how big that gap is because I screwed up. All right, I screwed up with the cut and I couldn't get that to come back together, and there's another big gap, but the rest of that was really good. I could have cut it off right here. I could have cut it off right there, and I could have had all that extra space if I didn't make those big mistakes. I could have just cut it off at the most narrow spot. All right, so now this is all quote-unquote waste, but I'll do something with it. Well, it won't be anything great, but, or maybe it'll be great, I don't know. This is the other end of the board. All right, so I have this other end of the board, and that's how much I had to cut off of the other end of the board, and you can kind of see the snipe right there. So that was actually kind of beneficial. I didn't lose much by cutting off the snipe there. On to some other mistakes on this board. I'm going to take my dust mask off because I'm not going to put it back on. I'm not going to sand anything else today. So here we were looking at lots of wood dust and wood filler to get that smooth, right? That little spot right there. All of this should have lined up and been straight. These shouldn't have been offset. These should have all been straight and good and pretty. Lots of little itty bitty gaps there. And this is going to be the top side. And that's all been filled with wood filler and glue. I didn't want to use epoxy. I didn't really trust that I was getting truly food safe epoxy. On the bottom you can see it was a little more exaggerated, right? So we had a little bit bigger of a gap in the corner. That's part of why this was the bottom. And even all along it, there's just more spots where the gaps were a little bit bigger. I didn't like it, so that's how we decided that was going to be the bottom. So this board, it was a first for me. I've never tried to wrap curved pieces of wood and inlay it like that. And it's a process, and it's a process that takes quite a bit of time, but it is worth it. It is something I might try again in the future, but I'm going to wait a while before I try it. So, a little preview of how pretty the board will be. A little bit of oil on it once it's time for oil. The board will be really, really pretty. If I get a board with too many big gaps in it, I will only try to sell it to people who want it as decoration. Because I don't want food bacteria getting into the cracks and causing people issues, right? So this one I don't think is I don't think this one is that far gone where it can't be used for food. I did my best to repair it. But when you do that, it takes hours and hours and hours out of your day that you don't expect to have to do time with. But here it is. I mean, that's pretty much it. Get another little wetting there. That one's got some nice woods in it, some curly cherry. This is curly cherry all the way up here. More cherry, with some curly maple in there, some sapele, more curly cherry. All right, so lots of good and pretty woods in that one. So hopefully she'll be really happy with that. And I left myself room to engrave on the top or the bottom. Put something nice in it, but pretty board. But it tested my patience. Not even a little doubt about that. Let's see what you got to say here. Yeah, it was very complicated. I ended up so that I'll grab it again. The very first cut is where I made my very first mistake, right? So when you do a board like this, you build the whole board. And then you figure out where you want your swerve, which this was the first one. You mark your line, and what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to run your router along the edge of something that has a design so that you can follow a nice smooth line and not have it be all floppy jalopy. I didn't do that. I drew the line, and I took it to the bandsaw like an idiot, and I bandsawed through it. Then I had to spend a lot of time sanding to get the line smooth. And then I said, man, that was really, really horrible. And I didn't draw the line by hand. I drew it with my laser so that I could get a perfect line. That was the idea, get a perfect line. Well, I'm reaching over my stock of stuff here so I can grab my template. Excuse me. My laser is supposed to be able to cut through some pretty thick plywood. Turns out it didn't. But I had a template here, right? So this was, that one's not the right spot. Was it trying to figure it out, make the right curve. Yeah. Something like that, maybe. There we go, that was the matchup. So that's what I should have done. So I should have clamped this down, and then I should have run my router along that edge. And if my laser had worked properly, I could have cut through this no problem and had a really great, easy time of it all. But the laser didn't cut through this 1/4-inch plywood. Should have been able to, but it didn't. So that was the first mistake. was cutting this on the bandsaw, not with the router. So doing this, there's supposed to be 2 of these lines, which there is. Both of those are supposed to be mirrored image lines. And because it was all out of whack off of the first one, that second mirror image, not so good. Didn't come out very good at all. Didn't mirror it at all. Excuse me. A little dust in my throat there. This one was for the other side lines. That one came out much, much better. And I did run this one. I ran that one along the router, and I was really happy with it. When I tried to put it back together, it didn't work out so well. It really didn't go back together so well. And I spent a ton of time sanding on this. And by this time on that line, after having to spend so much time sanding it and dealing with it, there was supposed to be one more swirl like this coming from this way and back in here, right? So it was supposed to, like this one has that little mirror flip. It was supposed to flip like that, and there was supposed to be one more line in here. All right, so you can kind of imagine that line being there and cutting through here. That's the way it was supposed to be. But I got so frustrated, I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. I'm finishing it like this, leaving it with an odd line, not symmetrical, and just dealing with it. So that's how this board is being finished up. I got too frustrated with having to fix every single cut. And the first cut, that fix didn't go good. Lots of sanding. The second cut, nothing lined up properly. So the theory is, when you make a cut, if you use a 1/4 inch router bit, you need a 1/4 inch of fill space to fill it up. And I knew that, and I tried that, and I was still getting screwed up. So that frustrated me. And on this last one, I did the same thing. I needed a 1/4 inch of fill space, and I got really, really close to a 1/4 of an inch. I'm actually a little over. I'm about 5/16 of an inch. But I knew I was stopping at that point, so I didn't really care. It was going to be the last cut. But definitely interesting. And it was a challenge to the skills, so something fun to do. But that's it, man. Hey, what's up, Spike? How you doing, brother? I did lose the will to live by then, for sure. After having to deal with all that and fight it like that, 100% I lost the will to live. And then the only other board that I'm going to sand tonight, I'm going to do off camera, because it is a carving trade that is going to somebody that doesn't want to see it until it's done and it's at their doorstep. They don't want to see it until it hits their doorstep. So I'm not going to sand that one on camera. But it is ready to sand, and I'll be sanding it before I go to bed. And just getting it cleaned up and ready to rock and roll. Oh, freaking sweet. I haven't heard anything from him yet, so we'll see. I mean, maybe I did. Maybe I got an Instagram message or something. No Instagram messages. He may or may not have hit me on Facebook. I don't know, but that's awesome. I'm excited to hear from him. And I appreciate you sending that off for me. I'm going to run in the house and get a little bit of water real quick. I got through about half of those boards. I don't know if you guys can still hear me right now. Maybe you can. Through a couple of doors. I just want to get a quick drink of water. I'm going to be back out there. Count up how many boards I got to do a second sanding on. So these microphones in an open area, it's supposed to have like a 300-foot range. I don't know that it does that well through a wall or not. I don't think it would through a wall. Shut that dust collector off. Oh, freaking cool. Freaking cool. So does he know that it came from my direction, or does he think it came from you? Doesn't matter to me either way, which way he thinks. Just curious how he's thinking about it. Does he think that it's packaged directly from you, or does he know that it came from me at this point? It doesn't matter to me if he thinks that it came from you. I'm just curious how he's thinking at this point. Okay, good. He knows it's coming from a wood ninja. That's funny. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Eight more to do. Get a good rough sanding on, or a second finish sanding. Gonna knock these fuzzies off. That's not bad. I got 10 out of the 19 done. And I'm gonna get this other one done. Give you guys a little sneak peek of the last board, which is not a cutting board, it is a charcuterie board. That's it, that's a sneak peek. We gave it a handle. Alright? That's a sneak peek you guys are getting. Because I don't know if he's watching or not. If he's watching, or watches at any point in time, that's the handle. About an inch in diameter for the hole. And this charcuterie board is going to be pretty damn nice, I think. I like it already. My wife likes it. My wife likes it. It's a mystery and how she hasn't tried to steal it already. She would normally try to steal it if she likes it. Sand out some burn mark on it while I'm talking to you guys here, because this charcuterie board is the last one that I'm sanding tonight before I go to bed. Hit it with some 150 grit real quick and try to get some of this burn mark out of this corner. It's the only thing I don't like about doing these coves. It's really, really hard to get the burning not to happen, especially in the corners. But yeah, this the charcuterie board is going to a member of the carving group. Yeah, not too far from being all done. Once I get that last sanding on, which will happen for all the ones that I did today, the last sanding will happen probably tomorrow, hopefully. And tomorrow, if I don't have to work tomorrow night, then I can stay up a little bit later and really try to knock it all out, get them posted, and then be able to do laser engraving on Saturday or Sunday while I'm trying to spend some anniversary weekend time with my wife. Today is our anniversary actually, but I have to work tonight. She's working now. The split shift stuff stinks. I don't like it because we don't get to see each other like we like to. Oddly enough, my wife and I actually like each other and spending time with each other. It's really weird. Some married couples don't have that luxury. Not an issue for my wife and I. I should just try to clean this up with the damn Dremel. I should do. Thank you, Spike. Appreciate it. Problem with trying to, if I was going to try and clean it up with a Dremel, I'd have to use a diamond or a rotary ball burr to get into this little cove, and that would just dig in. So more than likely, I'm not going to get too much more off of that. I did already wet this board once, and it's almost to its final sanding. So it's going to get its 180 grit sanding, get wet one more time, and then it'll get its 240 tomorrow. Yep, that's the plan. Set this out of the way, and then I'm going to end this stream here. I appreciate you guys coming in. I'm going to end this stream so I can sand that board real quick and then go to bed. I do appreciate you guys coming in. Yeah, no problem, Jax. Anytime I'm in, you got questions or anything that you want answered, I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. I won't try to BS you about it. I'll give you tips and advice that I would try myself, or that I have tried myself and know that they work or don't work, but I'll never give you advice that's just a bunch of BS. It's not the way I roll. Thank you, sirs. I will definitely sleep well, and as I said, I appreciate you guys stopping in and spending the morning with me here. Not too bad for hour and 40-minute stream. I got through 9, or I will get through 9 boards by the time this is done. Something like that. I don't know. My math is off because I'm not very good at math, and I'm tired now, so I'm definitely making mathematical errors. Good thing I'm not cutting anything. You guys stay good. Have a good weekend, and I may or may not turn on the live stream again tomorrow, and I'll definitely turn on the live stream for sending these boys through oil. All right, I will talk to you guys later.